What's up, guys? Welcome back to the second episode of our podcast. I'm here with Mahwan and Iyad. What's up, guys?
Yo,
How's it going?
pretty
We
good.
chilling out here.
Cool. I know we're not gonna go too much into the game show that we talked about in the first episode on this podcast, but we just finished recording the very first episode. It was a lot of fun. We're not gonna go too much into the details of the show itself, but how did you guys have that experience, real quick? How was the experience for you?
I found it to be pretty fun. It was pretty cool. Went in blind and went with the flow, but I honestly enjoyed it. I think it was pretty chill.
Cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, it was very interesting because it's so different than meeting a person in real. Um, Dude, you get so much out of seeing a person for the first time. You get their vibe, their outfit, their style. There's so much that goes into it, not just not just their voice. So that was the thing that was pretty weird, is you just get to hear a voice, and based on the voice, that directs where the conversation is going. So that was kind of, like I said, a couple of them felt like a job interview. All right. So what do you like?
Right. So for anyone who is listening to this podcast for the first time, so on our very first episode, we kind of talked about a game show we're doing that's inspired by Love Is Blind and Circle, and you can go check out that podcast for more details. But for this episode, we're not going to go too much into it because we want to talk about other stuff. But the guys just kind of gave us their input on how their experience were. Is there anything you want to add there in the end, Mawan? Sorry.
Not really. I mean, overall, it was fun.
Okay.
Very difficult, though. Very difficult, because you kind of, like, when you get the vibe of a person, you can find or pinpoint one thing that you can connect on. With this, it's like, dude, you don't know the person, you don't have a name, you don't have anything. You're just kind of like, all right, talk. And then if somehow they say something that you're like, you know what, I kind of like too, or I have a similar thought, then you can build on that. But finding that point where you guys connect is super hard at the beginning, because you're kind of just throwing random questions out there. So let's say you throw in 4 questions, and out of the 4 questions, there's nothing. Then it starts getting slowly awkward. Fillers start popping up and stuff like that. If you're lucky that, let's say, you talk, for example, about music, and then from music you find a connection, and then you can other things and see if there's other connections. So that was the thing that I found. It wasn't difficult. It was actually very, very. But there was one conversation that I had that I just, it was one of those where I kept throwing things, no connection, no connection, no connection.
Cool. So you're looking forward to tomorrow?
Yeah.
Then?
Oh, 100%, bro. Tomorrow's gonna be hell, and I'm excited.
Let's hope you get to talk to the person you want to talk to. So moving on, today we wanted to talk about the thing that we mentioned in the end of the last podcast was we noticed that, well, actually, before I start, I want to say today I'm not going to be having my camera on because we realized my camera was constantly being delayed, probably because of my internet connection. So instead of having an out of sync face that's constantly lagging, I decided to just share my screen over here. And you guys can enjoy the mountains on my screen over here. The guys can't see what I'm showing, but there's my mountain. It's just the momentum extension open there. But
Okay.
what we noticed yesterday is when we looked at our faces, we noticed that each one of us individually, we noticed our own flaws, and the other party, so the other two did not notice it. For example, Mahwan brought it up immediately. He was like, did you guys, like, my mouth is uneven. And as soon as he said that, I thought to myself, that's exactly what I was thinking about my own mouth as well. And then just as quick, Iyad says, damn, I thought my mouth was uneven. And none of us noticed each other's mouth at all. It was just our individual mouth. What about that? So, today we want to talk about
Yeah.
stuff. Go ahead.
All right. I mean, if we just get right into it, bro. I think it's one of those things where I was so not accustomed to sitting in front of a camera, and or let's say even if I am, let's say on Skype or whatever, it's usually like your pictures in the top right corner, so you don't notice these small things. You're just focusing on the video. But the way the Discord layout is set up, you can actually see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I started noticing that my mouth, when I speak, it, like, one side tends to be more active than the other side, you know? And even the way I say some things, like the way I imagine my lips moving in relation to what I'm saying, is completely different than what it actually is in real life.
Yeah.
And I've become conscious of it only through the filming. And as we talked about this, the other guys didn't even realize. They're like, no, that's they didn't think anything weird of it.
Mm-hmm.
But on their own, everyone thought, you know what, my mouth is being weird. Somebody else's mouth is talking. And then when you really pay attention to it, you start realizing other people also have a similar thing where their mouth kind of gravitates to a certain area.
So there is
certain.
an actual. So I remember I took a class called nonverbal communication, and we kind of learned about what that means. Apparently, when you were to smile, if you were to smile out of real true joy, your mouth technically will be kind of like equal. They'll both be at a same point. But if you're doing a very fake smile and you're not really showing real happiness, your face kind of shows that you're a little bit unhappy with the amount of evenness. But I might be wrong. Let me Google that since we have my screen being shared right now. Why does one side of my mouth droop? There you go. Why does one side of my mouth droop? Okay,
That's a heart attack, bro.
Yeah, the first thing I get is Bell's palsy.
That's a stroke.
Yeah, so the Bell's palsy is not what it is. I wanted to mostly check. So yeah, most of the time when you Google it, they say nerve damage, but that's not what I'm trying to get at. There's apparently another reasoning for why people do it.
I'll tell you one thing I've noticed about myself, and I'm not sure if this is genetic or if this is as a result of over time, but I feel like my jaw is uneven, where one side of my cheek is bigger or tilted more or whatever than the other. And you can kind of see this with my beard. So I was looking at it right now. When I went to fix my beard up, I have a stencil, so I just put it up in line and do it. And I did it the same way for both of them. But if you see my right cheek, it's kind of a curve, but then on the left one, it's straight.
Wait, what?
So it's freaky. It's weird. I don't know why.
I did not notice that until you just pointed it out.
Until I pointed it out. Yeah. And I've been looking at myself like, yo, it's so obvious. I gotta fix this and whatever.
Wow.
Right? So I don't know. The only thing I could think of is when I was younger, when I would have like cavities and I wouldn't be able to chew on one side. I remember my dad telling me, okay, then just chew on the other. So growing up, I got used to just chewing on one side or the other, not both at the same time. So I'm wondering if that has any reason or an effect on why one side of my jaw is more prominent than the other. I don't know. So this is something that I've noticed about myself and I'm trying to fix, but it's more difficult.
I think it might actually be. It might be like your muscle structure, not muscle structure, but like your facial structure. It might actually just be that too, though.
Like genetics.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Right here, I'm googling body language of the uneven smile or lopsided smile. So apparently, the description is okay. So in one sentence, the uneven smile indicates the presence of conflicting emotions. So that's what I was getting at. In my nonverbal class, they actually discussed it. So it says here, use the uneven smile when you want to show others that you can't fully commit to contentment. So this is like the actual using the smile to your advantage.
All right. So that being said, I love you guys.
What?
So for those of you on the podcast, Mahwan just gave us a lopsided smile while saying that comment. Trying to show he's conflicted. This asshole. Yeah, so it says here, the uneven smile depicts a frame of mind in which opposite emotions are present, such as uncertainty, tongue-in-cheek humor, and sarcasm. The uneven smile is coupled with cheeky humor amongst friends and also during sarcasm. Yeah, so it might be a thing, like it might be the case, but I noticed for myself for like years now, I used to have really busted teeth. Like I saw them, I had vampire teeth for a very long time, so I used to never smile. And then suddenly when I got braces and I finally got my teeth fixed, and I started smiling, I started noticing way more that my left side is very droopy, and left side of my mouth. But no one has ever pinpointed it. But I always noticed it. I don't know if you guys noticed my left side drooping, but
I haven't paid attention to it.
There you go. Honestly. That's the thing. But now that I mentioned it, more people are going to notice it, unfortunately. But
here's the thing.
Wait. To our viewers, if you're watching this, let me know if you can unsee my unevenness after bringing it up.
I already unsee it, though. I already unsee it.
Oh, you already unsee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially, but yeah, it's because if I were to see you from the side, like, look on your left or your right. Okay, if I'm looking at you on this side, I know it's straight. Like, it's a straight line. But look on the other side. Here, now I pay attention that it looks like a hockey stick. But if you're looking from the very front, I can't tell at all. It looks the same.
Okay, but that's all that matters. We're good.
And when you're looking at one side, you don't really remember or pay attention to the other side anyways. So for you, no one is ever going to notice that.
All right, so I get to slide by it.
Yeah, that's exactly. Cool. But Mahua's mouth, personally, I don't even see the unevenness he's talking about.
No, like, example, take a look at when I talk. So when I talk, the top lip moves up there.
Yeah,
more.
One side does move a bit more. Yes,
exactly. So when I talk, exactly.
So yours, one side moves up. Me, one side moves down. That's weird.
Yeah, like my bottom lip seems to move fine. It's literally just my top lip that tends to like kind of like.
Wow. We need
It's
to
weird, and now
go ahead. Now what?
because nobody even noticed this. Like
No, we
we've been
don't.
friends for years.
But now that
Nobody's
you
ever
say it, I
paid
kind
attention
of
to it.
see what you mean because I do sometimes
Yeah.
see it. But it's like I thought it was just that one word you were saying it like that. But now if you're saying you do it
Oh,
more often, it makes sense.
you know what you
That's
guys
the
just
thing.
reminded me of?
What up?
So when we were in university, I think we had a friend who had a tick or something, and they said, I don't remember who it was or what the tick was, but they said,
Okay.
if you notice it, you can't unsee it. Oh, now I remember who it
Is
is.
it Ian?
Yeah. Who?
Is it Ian? Or is
Was
it a
it
name you
Ian?
don't want to mention?
I
Bro, just not bring
don't think
names
it was
anyway.
Ian. Yeah, but I don't think it was Ian. It was someone else. Someone. Okay, what I'll tell you to try and hint at it is it's someone that we haven't seen in a long time. He traveled,
He
and
traveled.
I think that's who it was. I think unless it was who you mentioned, but I don't remember. But it was something where it's like once you notice, you're like, okay, now I see it. I can't unsee it.
What do you mean traveled though? I know this is kind of going off topic, but I don't even know who you're talking about.
Like he traveled internationally. I don't think he's in Canada anymore.
Oh wow. Okay, I have no
I'll
idea who
PM you.
that
I'll
is.
PM you after,
Okay,
and
cool,
then
cool. But so what we
yeah.
can do is one day, actually, interestingly enough, if we ever get enough leverage, let's hope we do get enough leverage, we should pull up a linguistic expert or like someone who, not linguistic, just for language, but someone who can understand these type of things. I want an explanation for this. I honestly want to know. Googling is not enough unless we do like a bunch of research, but I want to know.
But that's something I've actually thought about. So like so for example, I find that the slower I speak, the clearer I talk,
Of course.
and also the less weird movements my mouth makes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I find like it's something that I can slightly, just ever so slightly,
Control.
just ever so slightly, yeah.
Yeah.
But once again, ever so slightly. I find when I'm in my natural rhythm or my natural speed of speaking, it just goes. Like for example, I just noticed now that at some point it was actually the other side that went up. I don't know, but that's the thing. I don't know exactly what triggered it. I don't know why certain words come out a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Interesting.
But you're right though. If
Which
you were to speak slower, you can control a lot of things around your face, your mouth, and everything.
that's what I'm saying.
I think it's
That's
because
what
you paying
Pay
more
attention
attention to
But
it.
technically, though, in communication courses, you will learn that the slower you speak, the more you can actually pronounce words correctly, and you actually make your voice is much more clear too. The faster you speak.
But that's the thing. Maybe that's something that I should work on.
For sure, yeah.
You know, like because I have this bad habit where I tend to hop from idea to idea in my head. You know,
Okay.
I'm working on being a lot more articulate, and I guess in my journey, I need, as part of being more articulate, I need the message to come from my head to my mouth at a slower pace so that my mouth can catch up with my head, but at the same time, without my head jumping to different ideas and me losing my
You
train
know
of
what's
thought.
funny about that? Sometimes I'm pretty sure most people have done this, but sometimes I want to say 2, 3 things at the same time, and you say like a mixture of the words too, right? Like, it happened to me so many times. I would say like a random word. I'll say a mixture. Like it makes no sense. I'm like, wait, I have two complete train of thought that were parallel, and suddenly they collide. It's like, oh,
I'll tell you guys a story. One time, university at CAF, we were chilling, and we had this man who was deaf, and he came in and he wanted to hand us out one of those pins, like that they make.
all right.
And I guess he gave us
Wait,
no,
was this one of the scammers like on campus or like a real?
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know if it's a scam or not,
Okay,
but
there's so many
what it
scammers.
is like, hey, you know what? I'm deaf. I'm working. This help me out, whatever.
Right.
So, either that's what it was, or was somebody who wanted to talk to us about something. And he thanked us, right? So he's like, thank you. And I wanted to say both, you're welcome and no problem. So what came out was your problem. And then I was like, oh no.
That's hilarious.
So everyone was dying, and I was like, "Oh, I goofed that up so hard." So yeah,
That's a joke. That's actually funny.
definitely happens, bro.
Yeah.
You speaking of that kind of stuff and stuff you don't notice. You guys want me to really screw you up?
What up?
Yep.
I don't know if you guys know this, but okay. So when you're talking to someone, it is impossible for you to look at both of their eyes at the same time.
Well, yeah, of
you're
course.
constantly looking at one or the other eye.
No, but you know why though? Because
And-
both your eyes are focusing on one target, so you can't focus on
Yeah.
two targets either, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
but it's such a weird thing when you start looking, especially if the other person doesn't know it and you know it, and you're trying to match the eye they're looking
Of course,
at,
yeah.
and then it just like I don't know. Sometimes in long conversations, my mind just goes there, and it's like, all right, let's see which eye are the other person looking at. Is it my right eye? Let me take a look at their
You
left
can
eye
look
to
at
match
their
it, kind
your
of.
unibrow, like not unibrow,
Yeah, bro,
unibrow.
like in the middle here.
Like you look at the forehead or like just on the tip of your
So
nose and the top part of your nose. Sorry, if you look at
yeah,
that, you
so
can technically look at both their eyes and kind of. They think you're looking at them in the eyes, by the way, but
so
you don't.
what I've learned to do is always like pick different points on their face to focus on. So
Exactly. Yeah.
sometimes I focus on the lips, sometimes on the nose, sometimes on the eye,
Yeah.
whatever.
You
And
know
it's
what's funny
just
about the lips
makes
though?
it more engaging. Oh no.
Apparently, this is actually apparently legit. I don't know how much of a scientific fact it is, but I think it might
Okay.
be. We should probably look into it. I know I had this
Oh no.
Google Chrome here, but I don't think I can do enough research in this podcast to make sense. But I believe that if you're ever going for a kiss for like your partner or a girl or whatever, that if you look at them in their lips while you're talking to them, they get it as a natural cue that you want to kiss them, and it makes them more like intrigued. Apparently, that's the thing.
Well, I hope none of the people who are interviewing me for jobs think that, you know.
Well, I sometimes look at people in the mouth. Well, I think another reason why people look at people in the mouth when they're talking is sometimes it helps you comprehend what they're saying too. If they're speaking too fast, looking at their mouth movements kind of gets you an idea of the words that are coming out of their mouth, and it helps you follow along. That works a lot. Like you see someone talking and you can't even hear them, you can still kind of make out the words they're saying just by looking at their mouth. Same idea.
Until they hit you with, "Hey, my eyes are up here."
Like, then I'm not going for that kiss. But yeah, like for sure.
But yeah,
Yeah, paying attention to different points helps a lot.
it's not just that. Like as we're doing this podcast, I've come to realize a lot of things. One, I'm
Sorry, you
Hold on a minute.
cut off there. What were you saying?
Yeah.
One what?
sorry, I was just saying that I'm beginning to realize that it was super uncomfortable looking at myself at a video.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was, I was not used to it. Or the other thing that people realize all the time is the hearing yourself in a
Of
video.
course, yeah.
You hear yourself so different than in real life.
But you also, a
But
lot
the
of people
question
hate
is-
their own voices too.
I don't think it's a
like,
hate.
I don't
I
hate-
think it's more like I'm used to what I sound like, and then when you hear it, you're like,
That's not it. That's
Bro,
not my
that's
voice.
not
Yeah,
it.
it's foreign. Yeah. I mean, I hate my
Absolutely, and
voice, but
to-
you may
to
not.
go-
Yeah.
to go back onto what you said, Marwan, that I can't look at myself in a video. It's so weird and awkward. And I
It's
think
cringe.
I've read somewhere
Yes,
that
yeah.
Johnny Depp can't watch his own movies just because he's in the scene
Yeah,
itself.
just
so
looking
he
at your own
can't-
posture, your hand gesture, your movement.
It
it's
just makes you
so
cringe
weird.
so hard, bro.
Remember
Like,
when we did those
jeez.
YouTube videos back in the days? I remember
Yeah.
watching back the challenge when I was editing. I was like, I wanted to edit myself out so many times. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I saying? Why am I?
Legit, literally.
Why am I the way I am? You know? Why?
I swear,
But,
I
yeah.
feel that 100%.
Yeah, it's annoying for sure. I think only people who are really either like they're very proud of their voice or they're very proud of their acting, it makes sense for them to be sometimes more open to viewing themselves. But for general people, I think it's like a general consensus. You don't like your own voice, or you don't want to hear your own voice or your own acting, for sure.
I mean, I find that that's kind of super weird because, like, example, I don't mind taking it. Like, I had to get used to. I don't, in general, like taking pictures or anything of the sort. So it was such a weird concept for me to get used to. The reason that it really clicked in my head, not the reason, sorry, the way it clicked in my head that I don't like this is when the quarantine started. At some point, I did a couple of workouts for the boys. Like, we did a couple of live workouts where I essentially hosted the workout and they were just over FaceTime. And as we were doing that, I was looking at myself. And weird, because it was the first time where I just look at myself doing a workout, doing curls, doing these things. And I started noticing all these different things about
Right.
myself. You don't notice in a mirror. It's very different than when you're watching it in a video versus watching it in a mirror. And at that point, it clicked. I was like, you know what? I don't find myself comfortable looking at myself in a video. And so actually, as part of this, it's becoming a lot easier now with this podcast.
Yeah.
The more often
Absolutely.
we're doing it, the more I get used to, that's what I look like.
Yo,
Because
not
it-
only
this kind
just
of-
looking at you, even speaking, right? You're improving. I feel like I'm improving my speech by doing this. And I'm improving, and also all three of us are kind of getting out of our comfort zone, being here, doing a project and talking about whatever and actually putting it online, showing ourselves. I feel like you said originally in the first episode, Mahwan, by like a few years into the future, we're going to look back and see how much we've improved or changed for the better, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at
You cut
We
off
use a
again.
lot more
I don't know
fillers.
what happened there.
That's super weird. Let me move.
Okay, continue.
I was just saying that
Wait, just leave that in front
but
of you just for a moment. And mute your mic before you do any movements. Sorry, guys, just a quick little technical difficulty here. Mahwan, mute your mic first, and then put your microphone directly in front of you and like without holding it. Okay, and then you can unmute and continue talking.
all right, is this better?
Yeah, that's better. Go ahead.
All right. So what I was saying is, compared to, for example, the first episode, I find we were stuttering a lot more.
Yeah.
The thoughts, the way they were coming out, it was a lot less clear. And we keep forgetting that we make a lot of these inside jokes or we insinuate things based on our knowledge of ourselves as opposed to people's knowledge of us. And those are some of the things that I've realized. I'm stuttering a lot less. Thoughts are coming out clearer now on video because I'm more comfortable seeing myself on the video. I'm more comfortable even with the small quirks, like with the thing that with the mouth. Last video we were talking about that, and I was so fixated on that I couldn't think about anything else.
Right.
I swear, I was so fixated on it that I was losing my train of thought. My thoughts were changing all the time, and it became as I became self-conscious of it, I started feeling insecure about it to a degree.
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, damn, is that how people see me? Like, do I look stupid?
100%.
And then you realize, no, that's nobody sees you as stupid.
It's the
That's
same thing
just
as a
kind of how
pimple too. You notice your pimple so much more than anyone ever notices.
Than
it.
anyone else.
100%, absolutely.
To be on the other side of this, have you guys ever looked at yourselves in a video like this, let's say in this conference, or even in the mirror and look at yourself and be like, damn bro, I look good, you know?
Yeah, for sure,
Like,
for sure. I sometimes like angle myself a little bit on the side. This lighting is pretty Gucci. Like I'm gonna just tilt a bit so the lighting hits me. For sure, no, for sure. Like it helps to be able to. I think one of the biggest thing I realized recently, especially like now, is you have to just accept the way you are and try to like just be confident and do whatever you want. Because if you do look at yourself and you're like, I look weird, and you tell yourself everyone's gonna see me how I look, then you also have to understand that if you can't change the way you look and everyone's gonna see you regardless, you might as well just be okay with yourself and continue doing what you're doing. Like don't change.
It's not just that. It's not just that. How many times have you, let's say, and you like them
How
before
many
the
times you
weird
what?
work they
You tried
had?
that one word didn't come in.
The significant keyword that we needed.
How many times have you
I'm
what?
saying, have you looked at someone and admired that weird quirk in them, and you're like,
Of
you know what,
course,
that's actually a weird turn on.
Well, I've
So
noticed that
that's-
with my girlfriend many times. Yeah, there's so many random stuff that you don't pick up until later, and you're like, that's cute. You know, that's the charm, for sure.
Or at least that's what you tell yourself to convince yourself.
Wow, Sean's gonna be like, what'd you say yet?
No, I'm sorry, Sean. You know I love you.
Yeah, no, for sure, yeah.
Plus, I guess another part of it is, I don't know if it's necessarily that I never noticed it before. It could also be the fact that I've noticed it before. I just chose to throw it in the back of my mind and never address it. Exactly, or like pretend it doesn't exist. But this is one of those things where, like, okay, look now. Hypothetically speaking, if I actually noticed it, let's say 5 years ago, and I never addressed it, come now, we're doing this podcast. Oh, well, guess what? I'm looking at it. It would have saved me, let's say, the trouble of getting adjusted the first few episodes. And some people might never get adjusted. I'm not sure. I could have potentially kept on going with that insecurity. I mean, if we had not mentioned it, honestly, I probably would have kept looking at that the whole time today, too.
I feel like I would still, like, I'm not doing the video not because I don't want to see my face. It's just, honestly, it's laggy. Like, it's just laggy. But if I were to show my face, I definitely would have still focused on my mouth. Because what I'm trying to do is, I'm not focusing on it because I'm insecure about it. Is I want to actually kind of fix it. Like, I would look at my mouth while I'm talking so I can fix it as I'm talking.
100%, but at the same time, I'm looking at it, trying to fix it on one hand, but on the other hand, it's also, I'm normalizing it. I'm like, all right, this is exactly what this is what it is for the time being.
Right, for sure.
It might get fixed. It might never get fixed. But me normalizing it will eventually put me at a place where it doesn't mean much to me anymore. And it's one of those things where clearly nobody's ever noticed it before. Nobody's mentioned, okay, you speak with one side of your mouth more than the other side. The only thing that I've noticed that I genuinely want to correct is being more articulate.
Well, you have to speak clear. You have to speak slower for that, though.
That's the thing.
As a start, I think.
As a start,
you start speaking slower, but then over time you'll get used to it, and you'll be able to pronounce those words even if you're speaking faster.
Oh,
The
with
only reason
practice,
I'm
right.
saying this is I took drama in high school all 4 years, and articulation was a huge part of, acting and presenting your word, like your speech and your text and so on. And so, big thing that we had to hammer down was just like articulation and volume. So you had to be able to speak loud enough and be articulate enough without actually shouting or screaming. And so you start off slow, and then eventually you get into the habit, and your mouth and your muscles will get um, training, I guess, so that it becomes like quick on the spot.
Yeah.
So that's one part of it. But when I mean articulate, I also mean the ability to truly convey my thoughts. So yes, one part of it absolutely is pronunciation. It's all of these things, but at the same time, what I truly want to do is to be able to convey my thoughts the way I'm thinking of them, because I truly realize that so many times I leave so many things unsaid.
Right.
I have this habit of just skipping over steps in my brain and just leaving things unsaid.
Yeah.
And in order for me to fix that, I need to kind of slow down my thinking process in order to be able to match my mouth to my brain. Because otherwise, it will never work. If I'm thinking at like 100
You know
miles
what it
an
is
hour,
then,
and
Marwan? You need to slow down then.
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking of so many things and you want to say all these different ideas, one way to do that is to slow down, get your like mind in one place, and then try to elaborate and explain that first, and then move on to the next topic. Because when your mind is rushing, you need to tell yourself to slow down and focus on what you want to say first right now.
I think
100%.
one part of the reason why we we put ourselves in that predicament where you just want to get your word out or your thoughts out, and it all comes down rushed, is because when people are giving you their attention, you feel like, okay, I gotta say what I gotta say.
That's
Everyone
true.
is paying attention to me, so you just rush through. And this is something that I've noticed in myself for a while now, and I've been trying to do my best to correct it so that I can present my thought concisely without rambling on and on
For
and on,
sure.
jumping from one topic to another, and so on and so forth.
You think
You
that
were gonna
might
say
be?
something, Marwan?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Marwan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I was just gonna say that part of it is keeping my head in that same space for sure. That you were absolutely right. I have a very hard time with that. My brain tends to have this thing where, let's say I'm trying to convey a thought, and let's say I am halfway through the thought, through speaking about the thought, but my brain has completed the sentence in my head already, and so it puts a check mark and then it moves on. And at that point where it puts a check mark in my head and moves on, my mouth has only I've only said half of my
Right.
thought, but
Yeah.
Right.
my brain blanks, because that's it. My brain has completed that task in its head because I understood that thought. So that's one of the things that I need to do is I need to genuinely slow down like when I'm speaking, and try my best to kind of slow down my thinking and rewire that to be able to truly get my point across. And even if that means kind of like slowing down or the brain freezes here and there, I'm 100% certain that I'm gonna get there at some point.
Try it with the
Where,
podcast. Continue doing it with the podcast, and then.
but that's the thing. That's the thing. Already from now, from the first episode to now, I feel like it's a lot better.
Yeah, for
My
sure.
head is a
100%.
lot clearer. When I'm articulating, when I'm saying these things, I'm saying them with more clarity, and I know what I want to say, as opposed to starting a thought and then maybe getting lost halfway through that thought.
Right.
For sure.
So that's one of the things that I'm really happy about with the podcast. It's one of the things that you realize that can or needs to be worked on. People in general, when they look at things, they tend to be a little harsh on themselves. So I guess what I would like to say from this podcast, for this episode, for the especially for anything physical or any weird tics that you might have, people might not be noticing it at
No,
all.
not at all.
9 times out of 10, you're not making it up, but you're blowing it out of proportions
You're
in your
your
head.
own worst enemy most of the time.
And quick note on that is, if you have a medical condition, I know what was it called? There was a condition where people have tics in their in their faces where, like,
Right.
if you guys know,
Parkinson's? No, not Parkinson's.
no, not Parkinson's. I
Tourette's?
can't remember what it's called. Tourette's. Yeah,
right.
like Tourette
Yeah.
syndrome. Yeah. So some people, like their eyebrows constantly
Right.
move a certain way, or whatever. I think for a lot of the time, even though others notice it, I don't think they think of it as bad as you might think of it yourself.
For sure.
9 times out of 10, they don't even think of it.
It's actually,
You know,
guys,
look,
take a look at Billie Eilish, though. She actually has Tourette's. And most
Really?
of the time, yeah, she does. And most of the time, if you look at the interviews, there was like a YouTube video where they pinpointed, like some fan pinpointed all the times she did her tics. And if you look at them, while you're watching the interview, like on your own, you would have never noticed all her
wouldn't
tics.
notice it.
But when you pinpoint it, you start noticing how she tilts her head to the side a bit. She plays with her hair a bit. All those were her covering up her tics. But they seem so natural that you didn't even know she was ticking. So as person like us normal viewers, we would have never noticed that she has Tourette's. Like you look at her, you
Right.
sing her music videos, you never know. You just don't know. But she obviously probably cares about it a lot. And she said in one of her
course.
interviews that she voluntarily practiced to do all these different cues to try to cover up her tics.
To cover up the
Yeah.
tics. Yeah. Yeah, so I know like it's difficult for people with it just because they could be so self-conscious of it and it can, affect their self-esteem. But I think for the most part, for most adults, I don't want to say kids because kids can be rude and assholish to one another or whatever. But for most adults, I think it's just a thing of the past. Like, yeah, you know what? He might have a condition. He may not. I might notice it. I may not. But it's not that big of a deal. It's whatever,
here's the thing. Here's a piece of advice coming from a wise man.
Is that you? Are you the wise man?
Yeah. Dog, even your grandparents got laid. You good. Don't worry. Don't worry. You're here. Don't stress.
If your problem is that, then yeah, exactly. But just a quick note, actually, going back on what Ian had said earlier about how sometimes, when we're talking about talking, sometimes you just spill out everything that you want to say because you finally have everyone's attention, right? I believe for some people, not all, but for some people, I think that might actually just be the way they were brought up. If they weren't given the chance to open up and talk a lot and communicate and actually discuss things with people, then now for the first time, they're starting to get that attention. They're starting to get that opportunity to speak.
Right.
So they're like, oh, this is it. I'm never going to get a chance like this. And because they grew up not having those chances, they screw up and they end up speaking poorly and whatever, So that's definitely a situation for some people. And for them, it's like, you just have to work on it. It's not... Like, it's no longer an issue of having too many things on your head. It's straight up an actual thing they got brought up with, and that takes a lot more effort to fix.
And what sucks about that is I can see it being like a self-feeding loop or
Of course, exactly, yeah.
Right? Like, you give someone attention, they're rambling on and on and on, so that the next time you give them less.
Exactly.
And
Self-fulfilling
will just
prophecy,
enforce what
that's
they
what it
have.
is,
Yeah.
Honestly, like that's one of the things that I would go as far as giving as a suggestion to do for people in the quarantine. Sit and film yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
If you don't know your tics already, find out what they are, because there will be a point where you will be on film and you will see that, and you don't want to be surprised, or anything that you might consider to be a flaw or anything of the sort, and do like we did, talk with someone about it. Only then are you going to really realize that nobody notices these things as much as you do. Nobody cares about these things as much as you do. There are certain things that I will say, if you can change it for the better, absolutely. Begin embarking on a journey. Let's say, for example, if you want to lose some weight, or if you want to put on some weight, or things that you can control, assuming you have no medical conditions, so on and so forth, then absolutely, you know what? Be like, here, I'm going to set this as a goal for myself. I don't like this about myself, and I will pursue this goal to kind of empower myself, better myself. But if it's one of those things, for example, like the lip thing, for example, or the beard thing, or those things, by speaking about it, you begin to kind of gain a sense of empowerment.
You
like,
identify it, exactly. Identifying is the first step.
You identify it, and then you begin to realize, what? Nobody notices. Nobody really notices. And even when they do, nobody really cares.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, I think
9 times out of 10,
after today, I'm not gonna look at my one's lip and be like, "Oh shit, look at this guy's lip; they're uneven." I'm not gonna look at it and be like, "Yo, why is your beard uneven?" I will be using that. I will be using that for roasting purposes later, for sure. There's no way I'm not using that. But
bring it.
It's not gonna be a thing that I'm gonna say here and there. I'm never gonna notice that. So you guys have to just pinpoint your issue, and then see if it's something you want to address it. If it's not causing a problem, and you need to understand most of the time it's not going to cause a problem, then you should just let it be and accept yourself.
One thing I'd like to add to that is if it's something that bothers you and you think you can fix, I highly recommend you do it, because you don't want to be in a situation like Marwan, you said eventually you're going to be in a video somewhere.
Yeah.
And let's say that video happens to be on your wedding day. So you don't want to look back on it and be like, oh my God, look at me, I look so weird, or I'm
so
doing this
true,
weird
right.
thing, right? So either learn to accept it if it's something that you can't change, or if you can change it and you want to change it, then do it, just so that way you never look back with regret.
Actually, that's actually really good advice, because someone close to me, I won't mention names, but was so afraid of the smiling because the smile wasn't nice, or they thought it wasn't nice anyways. I should rephrase that. And they're so afraid, and they don't want to, like, they spend time to fix it, but they didn't want to put in more effort. But it got to the point where they were so shy about it that they don't actually smile for pictures ever.
Oh.
Even though they could, like, whenever they're laughing about, like, it's a really nice smile, But when it comes to a picture, they suddenly don't want to smile. So even if it gets to a point where they're at their wedding, they might be too shy to smile because they don't want to ruin the moment with their own smile, which is quite sad. That's like pretty sad, right? Like, it's your wedding, and you don't want to show your happiness, exactly, because you're too
actually that's a very interesting topic, because that's something that's always been brought up for me.
What up?
The whole smiling concept that you talked about. I have a thing where how people, let's say, go into a photo shoot and they can just like smile normal.
I can't do it.
My forced smile looks
Guys,
so bad.
that's practice. Me too. Listen, before I got my braces, I used to be very self-conscious about smiling because of my vampire teeth. I would never smile. I would smile with my mouth closed. My lips would be pursed. But you can see my vampire teeth pushing out. Exactly. Precisely what I did. But I have vampire teeth, so they pop up on the top too. You can see the indent. So it was really bad, right? And then when I got my braces off, I'm like, you know what? I have beautiful teeth now. Let me show it off. So what I did is every day, I shit you not, every day after taking a dump in the morning, I'll brush my teeth. After brushing my teeth, I'll smile at myself in the mirror for straight up 2 to 3 minutes every single day. And I practice. After 2 years, not after 2 years, maybe a year or so, I genuinely was satisfied with my smile. Now I can do fake smile. You look at any of my pictures, it's always the same smile. I can fake smile on demand. You can do it. Trust me. Everyone can do it.
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
You know what it
not
is, though?
3 minutes a day, but
no,
I'll
that's
try
it. You can do it whenever you have a chance, but it's because it's muscle memory. Your face is full of muscles. As long as you're able to train your muscle memory train your muscles to smile in a specific way. The fake smiles, you can train it. Your real authentic smile, you can't really train it because that's your real authentic smile.
But maybe that's the most beautiful smile,
Exactly. For most people, they don't realize that's. But you know what's a tip I give to, for example. Again, I'm not going to name names, but some people, when they have a hard time smiling in front of a camera, a tip I give them is think of something funny, or even if you don't think of something funny, just laugh and then hold that as a smile. Like, legit just go, and then start smiling. No, do a real smile, not see that smile right there. Hold it.
No, but I know what you mean.
And you have your smile. If you think about something funny, even if you can't smile on demand, you can technically laugh with a little bit of joy on demand. I think anyone can do that. And as long as you're able to hold your smile, then you're good to go. It's all practice, guys. Everything is practice. Almost everything about yourself you can practice and change. Not that you should, but everything you can.
You should definitely strive to improve the things you can change, or things that will improve your quality of life in general. Sure. There's no point in just leaving them as is. If there are things you cannot change, but it is what it is. You just have to learn to accept. Or you can try it even not accepting. Like, okay, I'll give an excellent example. I'll give an excellent example of that. One of the main insecurities a lot of men tend to be balding.
Both you and I, my friend, you and I. You guys can't see me, but my scalp is definitely not looking good right now.
And one of the things is you start looking at bald people, and then you notice 2 categories: people who are just bald, and people who own it, truly own it. You'd see examples like Jason Statham, The Rock, or what's his name, Vin Diesel. Those are or Mr. Worldwide.
The other Mr. Worldwide, the other Mr. Worldwide too, the man of many jobs.
you know, our great national hero Johnny Sins.
The man of many jobs, the Mr. Worldwide
man of many
International. But no, they definitely. The thing is, you have some people who they stop balding naturally, and then like, I'm not saying it's not a look, but it's not a look. I'm sorry, but when you leave the hair on the side a bit and you don't shave it off, like those are time where you're letting yourself go, even though you're balding, and it's not really a look for most people. I find.
You know, like you're talking about the ones like that hang on to the very last hairs.
No,
that
no,
they
no,
have.
no. The ones where the top is gone, like the uncle look. The top is
Oh,
gone,
and then just
and
like
they
the
keep the
side.
side, but the side isn't long either. It's like it's doubly.
Okay.
It's like, why don't you
Okay.
fully shave it off? They're like, I didn't have time. Fair. If you didn't have time, okay. But if you just don't want to do it because you're lazy, I feel like you can switch it up a bit and look better by shaving it off fully. But that's my opinion.
So that's the thing. I was actually watching a video. I don't know who it was by. It was like one of those random YouTube videos from the parking lot gurus. You know, people who sit in the parking lot and give like life advice and stuff like that. And it was funny. She said something. She said there's two kinds of people. There's bald men, and there's men with shaved heads.
Right.
And they both are balding, but they're two completely separate ways of going at it. You know, it's kind of like, oh, I'm balding. Okay, maybe I'll remove the rest of my hair
But
or
I think,
something.
but Juan, if for example I were to lose the top of my hair, I would for sure like shave with a razor blade my size 2 almost like every 2 days. Because I don't think I would
I
keep
mean-
stubbles like that. I don't think it would work.
I mean, to a degree. I mean, some people like Jason Statham pulls it off. Easy.
What do you
easy,
mean?
easy,
He does?
easy.
Let me
With
see
the
how
stuff.
it looks. I know we've been on Chrome
absolutely.
here. So you're
He's been in
saying
the mechanic. And
Jason
I can't
Tatum
remember what it
is that a basketball player or
No. He's a
No, actor.
actor. I'm not sure if he's British or Australian.
Channing Tatum or no? It's not Channing.
No. Jason Statham.
Statham. Okay, Statham. Okay, I heard
Yeah.
Tatum. Okay. Let me see here. Oh, okay.
He's been
Actually,
in
you
the
know what?
mechanic.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. He kind of does. It's because he keeps it stubbly. But here's the thing though about balding that people need to understand: is your head shape matters a lot. Like a lot of people don't have the shape of their head doesn't work for balding. Like I'm for sure. I think the shape of my head does not work for balding. That's why I'm really trying to make sure I don't bald. You know, hair transplant even if it cost me my first mortgage. But I don't think it works on my head. But he has a nice head. He has like a round head. It works.
A watermelon head?
Almost like a watermelon head. And also he has a jawline too. So like if you got the jawline and you got the nice head shape, it works.
If you have a jawline, no one's gonna look at your head.
No, but
You know?
yeah, another thing I noticed for people that are like fully bald is like if you guys can't see it YouTube, but most viewers can see it, is sorry for those who are just listening on Spotify, you can't see this. But if you were to Google Jason Statham and you look at his picture, his eyes his eyes are dead center on his entire head. So if you're the type where your eyes are a bit higher up and the forehead and the head scalp part is a bit shorter, looking bald might look silly. If your eyes are way too low and like your entire forehead goes up to your scalp, then you're gonna look bad too. I think you need like a perfect balance of where your eyes position on your head for it to look good. I don't know.
I have no clue. I can't picture what it is you're saying, but
Yeah, I'm
Go
trying
to any
picture
of his
something
picture.
like
Go
that.
to any of his
no, I
pictures.
see him. Yeah, I see him. And
His
I
eyes
know
are
this.
dead center in the middle of his head, of his entire head. If you start from the top to the bottom with no hair, like it's dead center, or almost dead center. Anyways, but that's besides the point. We're going off tangents. 43 minutes, but I'm just saying maybe some people, for balding people, try different styles. Just don't let your hair just be like that. It most of the time doesn't work. Try.
Tell you what, love yourself, my man. Don't listen to this dude. Just love yourself.
No, for sure.
and treat
Priority
yourself.
first. Priority first is to love yourself. Take care of yourself. But if you can style your hair, even if you're bald, that's what I'm saying. Even if you're bald,
Yeah.
you know when you hung onto your hair, you kind of style it, try to make the best out of it. Why don't you do that when you're bald too? Why don't you like shave it, keep it stubbly in a stylish way, trim it properly, like do some lineups even though you're bald. It adds to it. Why do you just let it be? Don't just
No,
let it
honestly,
be.
100%. Like, one of the things that I'm gonna say is something I did about a year and a half ago. I was so scared of it that I decided to just shave it off. You know, and it's
You have the
only
head
at
for
that
it, bro.
point.
You have the head for it. It looked good.
But that's the thing. Look, and imagine the fear that I had because of that. but even then, the thing is, you say that. I didn't think I had the head for it.
But we all
You
thought
see
you
where I'm
looked good,
going?
and we weren't just boosting it because you're a fan. We actually
Yeah,
thought
no,
it
no,
looked
no,
good.
no, no. I know everybody liked it.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I was so scared, but I did it, and it turns out okay. It was okay. That's what I'm saying to you. Like you say, I don't have the head for it. You don't know that.
That's true, but I'm too scared to shave it right now because technically my scalp is still pretty okay, but I'm too scared to do that. I'm doing the opposite of
Ex-
carotene. I'm growing it out.
My advice is, if you're not balding, then style your hair the way you want it. But you start
Do it
balding
for
and
those of us who
balding.
can't.
Exactly, exactly. Do it for
And
the
then, but
rest
if
of
you,
men.
yeah, basically. But if you're balding, then then start looking into seeing what would work best for you.
Right. All right,
But
guys.
if you have hair
Sorry.
growing, don't shave it off.
No, of course, unless you want
Yeah,
to. Unless that's the
unless you
switch
want
up,
to. Yeah.
You know how girls when they break up they go dye their hair or whatever. Guys, like shave your head, do something.
Shave your head.
So yeah, guys, sorry to cut you short here, but it's been 45
Nope,
minutes,
it's all
so let's wrap it up. As for the next discussion for the tomorrow's podcast, we're probably going to record it tomorrow. I have a suggestion. We can either talk about childhood development affecting our life, but that might be a bit too deep and too much. Or do you guys have any suggestions based on some stuff we talked about today that you want to kind of elaborate on as like a main topic next time?
I mean, we can kind of get general opinions from people around us and see what kind of things
For
they'd
sure,
be
okay.
interested in listening.
Go. Yeah.
One of the things that I want to say while we're wrapping this up is I'm very proud of us. I did not hear, or I don't think I heard anything that would get us demonetized for the first time.
Nah,
But we're making
Hey.
progress in that regard.
Well, let's change
We're
that
making
right now. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not too late.
We still got a few more minutes. But do you guys have any parting, wrapping words?
Stay beautiful, love yourself.
Yeah, and stay tuned to the update on the game. This will be very interesting. We'll give like tiny updates, and then we'll do
First
a whole
episode's coming
episode.
out probably within a week, if not max a week.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
Sounds
and then
fun.
we'll do a full podcast
And,
episode.
For those of you listening to us on Spotify, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube at Yello. It's Yello, Yellow. If you subscribe to us on YouTube, you can see us while you're listening to the same exact podcast. And also, you'll be able to see other content, such as the game show that will be uploaded on it very soon.
And I mean, who knows if we ever host round 2, we might open it up to everyone. Why
For
not?
sure, that's definitely a good idea. So look forward to that, guys. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in. We hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and we're looking forward to the next one. Take care, guys.
All right.
Peace.